Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another round of T3PO Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We have an amazing show for you in store today. As you probably have heard by now, D23 Expo was this weekend, or now they're calling it, the D23 Ultimate Fan Event. Actually saw some mainstream outlets still call it D23 Expo, so that's what we'll call it right here. And it contained so many announcements, from the entertainment showcase that went on for about 3 hours to a parks panel that, was almost the equivalent amount of time, even though there were many musical acts there thrown in. We'll talk about all of that in just a moment. But with all of those announcements came so much in the way of news. So many things that we are getting, whether we like it or not in many cases, and well, they're saying expansions, but us fans, I think we're calling it replacements to your beloved attractions. And there was a lot of hype, I will say. There was a lot of hype coming out of the D23 Expo from not only just big sisters, but around the Diz Twitter community and so forth, and around Disney itself. And it's like, okay, looks like things are turning around. And then all of a sudden on Monday, they drop a bomb on us, and they completely douse whatever goodwill that they have, and then the stories, well, they just keep on rolling. So in order to get to some of those stories, well, we have to have some amazing panelists, and amazing panelists we do have. Let's go ahead and introduce the one, the only, Barry Place 28, and with him, Lou Wasserman's Ghosts. What is going on there, guys? Welcome to the show.
Hey, everyone.
It's another busy week. Another busy week. Do we get any weeks where there's slow news days in this business? Not lately, huh?
No. I keep waiting for those, Lou. I keep waiting for just slow down a little bit. I don't need all the news all at once. Just parse it out.
On the other hand, parts are slowing down, i.e. attendance at the parks.
Yes. Well, and with that, Lou, I don't know if you've seen, though. Let me see if I can share it on my screen right here, but the stock price is slowing down just a little bit there. Yeah, not good. And remember, the Q3 fiscal year 2024 earnings report was talking about how there's going to be just a little bit of a mid-single-digit slowdown in the parks division for the next few quarters, and everybody was like, "Ooh, that's not good."
What
and
if
so
they built a coaster without a lift hill?
exactly. Well, yes, that's very true. It's all just downs, Lou. It's like what they're building over there in Kadaya, I believe, with the with the Falcon's Fury. It's just all downhill.
I don't know.
With that, but it's not so good. So Disney did respond. And not only responded to the stock price and to shareholders, but also to Epic Universe by announcing a slew of investments, which is good. But it's those details connected to those investments that they didn't want to share for some reason at the time. And now that we're learning some more of those details, fans aren't as optimistic as they were before. That is for sure. But before we get to that, Bob, you were telling me before the show that you were sending some things my way of your experiences at D23. Do you want to go ahead and fill in the viewers what your experiences were like, just for a brief moment, before we get settled in here with the news?
Sure, no problem. So my daughter and I went, and I wasn't sure what to expect because I told you guys I had bad experience buying tickets and then not getting any panels, and then didn't get any of the store virtual queues. So it was kind of disappointing, but we get there and the first thing we do is we run into the zombies forecast, and we did have to wait in line for this, but my daughter loves zombies, and so she was excited to meet Meg Donnelly and the other two actors there. And so we got to meet them and do the quick meet and greet, and there we were doing a fun selfie. So that was really cool, and it was a great way to kick off the event for us because my daughter was really happy and excited. But we also got to meet some other people at the show. We ran into Ken Potrock, and we also ran into Bob Gurr, which is awesome. And eventually, yes, they did open up the standby lines for some of those stores, including the D23 store, which they did not announce that one. And we were able to get into that. So it turned out to be a better event than I thought it was going to be. And now that I've been there, I think I might do things a little bit differently. I was kind of discouraged in the beginning buying tickets. So I bought tickets for one day. I think I would buy tickets for other days and or the Honda Center. But it was a good event, and I had a great time with my daughter. So thank you for letting me share that in some of these photos as well.
Well, that's fantastic. Good. I'm glad somebody had a good time. I really am. I mean it. I'm very sincere.
No, yeah, I am too, because I heard some horror stories attached to this event in a couple of
there were some things I heard too and whatnot. Thankfully, we didn't have any major issues, my daughter and I. However, yes, there were some things I still think they could do better. I mentioned last week, I think if they did a virtual queue, it would be so much better if they did that. Oh, by the way, if you go back there to that Star Speeder 3000, yes, I was lucky enough to snag one of those. So that
was cool. Oh,
yes.
Man, now I am super jealous. Yes. I don't know if you guys have seen this. This thing looks so cool. I'm going to play some audio right here. Make sure. Okay, yeah, I'm clean here. You guys got to see this. You guys got to hear this. They actually used footage from the ride, like the original reels from the ride, in order to make the visuals at the front of the Star Speeder. As you see this little model here, it actually plays. It does the thing. Here, watch. Come on.
That is pretty sweet.
It's amazing.
I mean, the lighting, and it plays the whole movie. It plays in sections. It can't play it all the way through, but the batteries start dying as they were showing us of the show. Yes, but that's awesome. I mean,
how big is that in real life?
Oh, I tell you. Oh, geez.
Isn't it?
I want to say
is
the
it
box
like this?
Yeah. Well, the actual thing is probably about
like a shoebox or so.
It's probably no. It's more like 2 shoeboxes put together.
Wow.
And then the box it comes in is like, oh my God, it's huge. I mean,
massive.
I got it to fit it into, I have a small car. I have a Chevrolet Bolt. And so I was able to get it into the only one in the back. And then I had to put the other one in the back seat. And the one in the back seat covers, like a passenger, I'd say about 2 passengers and a half.
Wow.
That's how long it is. It was really, really long box. But it's very, very cool. Now, I will tell you, one of the things I learned there is that they were like, oh, one per person, because I have my daughter with me. They said, oh, you can buy 2. They said technically you could probably buy 3. And a lot of people were walking out of there with 2 to 4 of these things. They're $300 each. They were going to sell whatever they didn't.
I think that's a good price. I really do.
It's a good price. Yeah,
it is a good price. Obviously, they're selling for a lot more than that on eBay and whatnot. I'm not sure they will. But I got to tell you, for some of the things I saw in the store, they had some really neat things to buy. This was like the thing to buy. And I know my wife hasn't found out that I bought it, but when she does, she'll be like, what? But it is pretty amazing. And the other question I'm going to get is, where are you going to put that in the house?
I sent you to town with the cow and you brought back magic beans? What are you, crazy?
Exactly. You know?
It's the modern version of that story. Well, there was also
amazing.
There was also some cool things on the show floor, not just from what you could buy, but what you could actually see, right? You sent me some video here, and let me see if I can go ahead and present to you my screen here. Let me see if StreamYard will cooperate. I had to switch here. Sorry, guys. There you go. There's this little guy right here. Oh, look at him.
Oh.
Yeah, so Garner Holt's Productions was there. So, in fact, the lady that's behind there, you can't really see her face, but she apparently worked with Garner Holt on creating Grogu. So he was there. They had a little toucan from Tiki Room there, which is cool. They actually had a mannequin of great moments with Mr. Lincoln there. Ariel, my daughter, was like, oh my gosh, that thing looks a little freaky. I'm like, well, it's very lifelike. And I'm hoping, I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, and there's some controversy about the whole, Walt Disney being an animatronic, but I'm hoping if he does it, that it's Garner Holt, because I know he will do what he can to take great care into creating it. So
for those who don't know what Garner Holt is, they are an independent animatronics special effects company, the best way to describe them.
Yeah.
And they're very good, and he's very good. And so, as you can see,
I can tell you right now, to tell you just how good they are the ones that actually maintain the Tiki Room as of right now. And it's one of Garner's, it's one of his prized jobs, basically, in order to bring those animatronics back to life. Also, too, Mapo gave them all their secrets. Yeah, there is some association there for sure. I believe Garner used to be an Imagineer himself.
Yeah.
But,
and for those who don't know what Mapo is,
it
is the safety division, basically, of Imagineering and all things parks. And Mapo is short for Mary Poppins because it's your nanny looking out for you. I remember when it used to be the first thing of the day, the monorails would go around the track and come up on the next one very, very slowly to make sure the automatic non-collision thing braked it and shut it down, and that was called doing Mapo checks.
Yes. Mapo has its
checks.
It started out as the audio animatronics side of the business, especially after the success that Mary Poppins was. It's changed over the years, obviously. But Mapo definitely having its a very illustrious history, that is for sure. But now it's all about, not animatronics from Disney, but hollow tile floors. Do you want to go ahead and give us some insight into this?
So this was amazing. So this gentleman here, he took the time to actually explain to us. I have another video that I sent you, but it's a little bit longer. But basically, the hollow tiles basically move independently. They have different sections, and that whole section right there that you just saw on the video screen, that's one section, and they have a bunch of those sections, and you can see those sections moving. And basically what happens is he's put down a chair and he strapped himself in with a seatbelt, and he's got a controller, like it's like a video game controller, and he's moving himself around on the hollow tiles. And it's really, really cool. Not only, that, but you can see those blocks that are behind him there. It looks like one's purple and gold, and they put those on the hollow tiles. They just move automatically on their own. They can program it so they can move them where they want to. Watch, I think he's going to do that right now. Let's see.
Move in sync with the video behind so that it's all one
synergistic
thing.
Yeah. Well, that was, obviously that's the creator back there who's on the chair and on the video. Showing how it's done and how it works, and it was really, really well done. I mean, the fact that he took the time to show us what the tiles look like and how they moved independently, I thought was pretty amazing. This is all in the Imagineering area, and that, oh, there's the video where he kind of explains on how everything works.
Right.
And then
so
you can see the blocks back there. Sorry.
we have gotten an insight into this tile floor. I forgot who did it. I think it was TechCrunch or somebody who basically gave a huge description of what this is. And it's very cool tech. And I think Lou was exactly correct. They can sync it up, the video behind there, so that you could walk through a digital environment, and the tile floor will provide. Think of it like an omni treadmill, so to speak,
right?
Where you can walk through a digital environment and not actually move, but be moving in sync with the screen and really give you a sense that you're moving through a virtual space. It's very, very cool tech. This is very, very cool. The application for your Imagineers, obviously, is to create these environments that they're building, which we'll get into in a moment, folks, trust me, in such a way that they can actually walk through them and preview them before actually building them out at full scale. This is kind of the next step in evolution of the volume, if you've ever heard of that terminology before. Also the dish inside Imagineering. So this is very, very cool.
I got to tell you, from what I'm seeing, being at the event and seeing all these displays is much better than going to the presentations where they just make you crazy.
I would agree with that.
I will tell you, being there with Imagineering stuff, that was amazing. I mean, they really went out of their way to show you how everything works and to talk about it. They were excited about what they do, and they even had some of the things that, and I think I might have sent you a couple of videos on them, but they were like prototypes of things that they have not even released out in the parks that they want to use. Like they had some holographic 3D holograms floating in front of you, like a couple pizzas, and then the alien from Toy Story. And then they had like the ride Beauty and the Beast over in Tokyo, where the Beast turns into the prince. Well, they showed the little mock-up that they made to convince Disney to, do this. And so they had all those on display, and it was neat seeing all this stuff. And the way they talked about it, and they wanted to share with you how they did it. It wasn't like, oh, well, this is what we're doing, and this is really cool, and we're not going to share with you how we did. No, they wanted to tell you how they did it. So they weren't trying to break the magic. They were trying to, explain to you so that you could enjoy it as much as they did.
That also tells you that all the patents have already been put through.
True. That's
yeah.
it.
So
there's a lot of other stuff you didn't see that hasn't happened yet. So
I will see. One of the best things about this show floor experience that I've seen from other expos is that they also had demonstrations from like mini presentations with Imagineers on like a set interval. And they just like happened in front of you, and you have an Imagineer talking about what they're working on and so forth.
Really cool.
I mean, that part I think is awesome. I think more of that, please.
Even something I thought that wasn't that interesting. So I got to be honest with you, with the new outfits for Halloween, I haven't been very impressed with Mickey's costume. Minnie's costume's not too bad, but wasn't real impressed with it. And they had on display some of the costume designers and how they create these costumes. And I got a whole new perspective and went, oh, I like these costumes a lot better now. I know how you guys put them together. And they actually had 3 different mannequins for Minnie Mouse. And one was just a basic one where they put some fabrics on there to see what they thought. The second one was a little more complete with a vest and the fabrics, laid onto the costume. So you had a better idea of what they were planning on doing. And then the final version, and you see these different steps. You're like, wow, I have a much more understanding of what's happening and why, and this is really cool. I like it. And so it gave me a more of appreciation, given the fact that I wasn't real thrilled with these costumes. And then I was like, wow, I like these actually after all, because now I saw what you guys are trying to do and why. So that was really interesting as well. And then I'm sure we're going to talk about it later, but I had an opportunity to talk to one of the software engineers for the animatronics for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So
okay.
Talk about that. I don't know if you want to talk about now or talk about later, but that was really interesting too. So
let's go ahead and talk about it now, because once we get into it, we're going to be flying here.
Okay.
So what did you hear from this software engineer?
So you can go back to my live stream. It's like at the 4-hour and 2-minute mark and 40 seconds, I think, and see the actual interview later. But basically what happens is I got the opportunity to ask him, well, given the fact that we've had all these issues with Walt Disney World, and given the fact that they're still working on Disneyland, what are they doing to make sure that these things, don't happen over at Disneyland? And he was like, we're always trying to learn from our issues, and when these issues come up, we're trying to, and it was like the PC version of, I'm trying to be nice and tell you something without really telling you anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, and by the way, this is what I think is really funny. They announced on Saturday night that Disneyland's opening up Tiana's Bayou Adventure on November 15th. And my sources told me, Bob, under no circumstances is this thing even close to being done. And if they do open it like they're planning on doing it, they're going to be working behind the scenes to try to complete this ride, even though it's going to open on November 15th because it's not ready. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So
goodness gracious.
Basically, from talking to this gentleman who didn't really want to tell me a whole lot, and by the way, I asked him a couple times the same type of question, and I felt bad. I wasn't trying to put him on the spot. I just wanted to see if he had an answer for us and everyone who was watching my channel. And he really unfortunately didn't have anything to say, and it basically sounded like, well, we're going with it, and if we still have problems, we have problems, and we're just going to have to work on those issues. And it was like, really, that's your solution? So that's
what this reminds me of. Many years ago, as a young man, I went on a student tour, one of the first, to the Soviet Union, and back in the good old bad old days of the USSR. And our teacher from America said there's no point in these in-tourist guides that take you everywhere, which is the government tourist agency. They're nice young people, but there's no point in asking them political questions because they can't tell you anything. Well, one of the little girls on our trip was just not very bright. And she asked this young lady who was our in-tourist guide, how come I don't see any books by Solzhenitsyn in the bookstore?
Mm-hmm.
And there was this long pause. And then we got the official party line, and it was this, and it reminds me so much of this. They said, well, two reasons. One, when they come out, they're such a huge hit that they sell out immediately. And two, when they come out, they're such a huge flop, the stores don't want to stock them because nobody wants to buy them. So they do come out, honest, they really do.
Yeah,
but
Sure.
I thought it was hilarious. A free market explanation.
By the way, can I just say thank you to Kiki and Luca, who's in the chat right now, because Kiki and Luca, he was there with his wife and his son, and he actually took the time to go stand in line at Moana 2, and he got the actual actress that plays Moana to sign a Moana 2 poster that said to Ariel, from her name, and it was so cool. And he brought it over to us, and he's obviously a good friend of my channels, but he watches this channel as well, and he's just a really genuinely nice guy. And I just want to say thank you for making my daughter's day by giving her that poster. So thank you.
That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I am glad that the event, at least from your perspective, actually went really, really well, because man, oh man, my experience sure didn't. And that was some time ago. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and get to super chat right here that just came in from Hawaii Dragon Star. Thank you so much for the $2. That Tiana sounds like they want to fix it in post. Yeah, that's what it sounds like
and
to me.
That is, for those who don't know, an expression that's become a wonderful cliche within the industry of, well, what are we going to do? We'll fix it in post. Keep moving, So as in post-production. So that's what that is.
Exactly. Well, you just got a little taste of.
There's one we don't have to answer on Sunday, Vash, because there we
That's
go.
right. On all the way back with Lou and you, I was
to.
going to change the background there just for a second.
Yeah,
because that's perfect. Thank you so much, Hawaii Dragon Star. Very much so. Well, I guess we have to start here, all the way back in 2022, when Josh Giamaro, with his little gleam in his eye, said, we're thinking about building something beyond Big Thunder. And here was the original art that they released at that time. You can see Encanto, Coco, and I believe Villain's Land back in the distance, represented in this shot. And everybody went wild. They went crazy. Some people actually reported that this is what they were going to do, inaccurately. But we're considering it. We're working on it. And everybody kind of went home like, that's a little bit of a strange presentation. But obviously the rumors flew. And we have been keeping up with the story for quite some time. And then at D23 Expo during the Experiences panel on Saturday, that just occurred, it was announced that Cars would be coming to the Magic Kingdom. Obviously, the Coco and Encanto attractions or lands, well, they had set their sights on other places, either within Walt Disney World Resort property or at Disneyland. We'll get to that in a moment. But Cars was officially coming to the Magic Kingdom. And also, they announced as well the Villains Land that they had. Oh, not that one. Not that one either.
Not that one.
Wait a minute. Where's my Villains Land? There you go. There's my Villains Land right there. Villains Land was also announced as well, and the crowd went wild. They went absolutely crazy for the Villains Land.
So did nobody say, gee, that looks familiar? Dark Universe, anyone?
Mm-hmm.
Well, exactly.
Oh, yes. Definitely a response to Dark Universe. And you can see, if you're studying this concept art, you can see some amazing stuff. You can see this like coaster kind of thing here. You can see this coaster going into the water right here. Very, very cool. Maleficent's dragon is back there.
Mm-hmm.
A shopping and retail complex, dining complex.
They're going to have to burn a dragon every night. They're going to burn a dragon every night.
And it's trust me, folks. We had 3 pieces of concept art released for Cars. This is a far more developed plan than Villains Land, and this is the one that they really want because they know that the merchandising potential off of this is astounding. Villains Land is going to be, that's off in the distance there. It was why they were so vague with the details and with the concept art itself. But this one is definitely fleshed out. And we got to experience just how fleshed out it was when on Monday, not on Saturday, on Monday, after the event had already closed up shop and everybody had gone home, that's when they announced that, well, as part of that Villains Land and Cars Land that we're giving you, we're going to replace the Rivers of America at the Magic Kingdom to make this all possible. And if you don't believe us, folks, well, Disney decided to go ahead and let us know. Again, August 12th, not August 10th like it should have been. This past weekend at D23, the Ultimate Disney Fan Event, Disney Experiences Chairman Josh Giamaro revealed exciting new details about what's coming to Walt Disney World. Details, citation needed. In addition to getting up close and personal with monsters amid villains, soon you'll be able to explore the uncharted territory of the great outdoors with an expansion in Frontierland themed around Pixar Animation Studios' Cars. It's time to leave Radiator Springs and head west into the exciting new locations. To make way for this completely new frontier, the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer's Island will be transformed into a vast and rugged terrain for a rally race with some of the world's most iconic cars. Yes, folks, they're literally paving over paradise and replacing it with a parking lot. So that is what is going on right there. You can actually see somebody has actually lined up the artwork. Let me see if I can go ahead and bring that up. I had it before and I lost it, and I had it and I lost it. Well, as soon as I'm bringing this up, why don't you go ahead and give me your first thoughts here, Bob and Lou.
Okay, so
yes. Wave goodbye.
I know there's some people are like, well, this is, I'm congratulating Disney on making this, bold decision. Yeah, it's a bold decision, but this is okay. My whole thing is Walt Disney World was a piece of Walt. He may not have been alive when that thing, finally, grand opened, but he's the one who helped design this thing. And yes, I get it. It's very much like Disneyland, but it had Walt's approval on it. Now you want to get rid of something that was part of Walt. I get it. We got that in Disneyland, but to me, this could be a really good thing or a really, really bad thing. If they do not do a good job on this, it's going to look horrible. And I just am upset because I don't think they should be doing that to the Rivers of America. I know a lot of people go, well, when's the last time you were in River America? Well, I go all the time at Disneyland. And last time I was at Walt Disney World, I went on it. And I go to the island all the time at Disneyland, as well as, when the last time I was at Walt Disney World. I get people's point. Well, people don't just go over there very often. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. This was a part of Walt. And you're going to get rid of a part of Walt's history of this park. And then who's to say they've made precedent now, right? So who's to say once they do this to Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer's Island, that they're not going to do this to other parts of Walt Disney World or Disneyland or any of the other things that Walt has done.
And really, Bob, if you think about it, it would make, from their point of view, more sense to do it at Disneyland because there's so much less land to expand onto at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm. Well, they don't have a lot of land.
I'm not saying
though.
I'm not saying it's a good idea, but don't get me wrong. But what the two things that bother me when they say largest expansion, I'm sorry, but when you replace something with something else, you're not expanding a damn thing. You're just swapping. And as we've seen with Tiana, that doesn't always work.
No.
But what they're getting rid of more than Walt is America.
Right.
They're getting rid of, because that river is more about how many people go on the boat and how many people go over to the island. It's about setting the scene for everything that surrounds it, for everything from Liberty Square to Pecos Bill to everything is based around that idea of the frontier, of the expansion west, of how America went from 13 colonies clinging to a coast to a continental nation. But they don't care. They don't care.
And I guess the thing was, yes, okay, when you say you're going to build beyond Big Thunder, I'm thinking beyond Big Thunder. I'm not thinking next to Big Thunder and getting rid of, something. And I agree with you. This is, yes, some of the stuff in the background is an expansion, but that is not an expansion. That is just replacing. And don't get me wrong, Cars Land is amazing at DC. I love it. The Cars ride is cool. I'm sure this is going to be cool. It's going to be amazing looking. But to do this, you're setting a precedence I don't think they should be setting. And it really bothers me, as well as a lot of, Disney history people, because they think that, this shouldn't be happening. And like you said, it's not just part of Walt. It's a part of the America part that they're getting rid of, making it smaller and smaller. And it's like, that's not cool.
You can see just what they have their eyes set on. I believe this lower portion right here is about 4 acres or so, and this upper portion is about 8 acres. If they go beyond the berm, that is, they get access to more right here. But you can see all this green space right here, and there are very creative ways to get people back there. I know a lot of people online have been saying, well, they have to get rid of Rivers of America. They don't have to do anything. This is all man-made, and it can all be made in whatever configuration that they want, and they're choosing the path of least resistance.
And by the way, when they first started throwing this idea around several months ago, didn't they talk about doing a big hotel at the back of it, a la Helios? Did they say anything about that this weekend?
No. They did not provide any details like that. Yeah. There is, if you look at the concept art, there is some kind of chateau that can be seen here, and it's weird. The configuration is very strange because obviously people. Yeah, weird. Talk about that too. You can see how the what do you want to say? The river bank they used to walk along with all those amazing facades faces outward. This faces outward as well. So the back of all these structures and buildings will be facing the front of a lot of those existing facades. It is a very strange configuration. It does not fit at all. This is absolutely just horrible. Yeah, reply by mail. I do agree with you. I'm hoping this is the world's biggest troll, but I don't think so. This was very specifically placed to announce this after the event had already concluded, right? After everybody went home. And look, Josh Giamaro, Lou, you know this better than anyone. Josh Giamaro, he's in the running to be the next CEO. He can't have anything stain him and his sterling reputation. So get all the accolades, get all the applause, get all the people going, oh, hooray! But not actually. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Pro and I did a video yesterday morning about why wasn't KK there for anything other than the John Williams thing? And I said because they didn't want to subject her to the possibility of being booed even by a friendly audience over what she's done to the properties. Well, that's why DeMauro wasn't there for this announcement. He was already gone and safe and behind bars, bars facing out, not in, because they were scared because this guy is going to take the flack for this. And he's not the next CEO. It ain't going to happen. And that's somebody, I saw somebody in the chat over on the other side about, well, why doesn't he just quit if he's not for this? Because he's a company guy, and where else is he going to go? Right. He didn't make the cut for CEO. So his job now is to implement all this stuff. And if you think he made this decision, you're dreaming. That guy in the middle made the decision.
First characters revealed, by the way, for the new Villains Land. Thank you, Mickey Central. I do appreciate it. Mickey Central is the source of a lot of this stuff, folks. So definitely accolades go to him. That Liberty Bell footage that you see there, that also came from Mickey Central as well, and we'll be talking more about that. But you know what's interesting about this is that, well, just down the I-4 there, you have another park coming out.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, a little bit of Epic Universe. And they made it a point of emphasis. Actually, Mark Woodbury actually said, we're putting the park back into theme park. Wallen Ballin from Twitter says, for those who have been begging for originality in theme park design for something other than IP after IP after IP, I give you Celestial Park. Original design, all original theming, a complete original soundtrack, and no IP. Beyond this gate, you'll find gardens, green, and epic worlds to fill your dreams.
And
Walt
by the
proud.
way, I know you're probably going to move on to that later, but when they get to that stuff at Animal Kingdom, they talk about a carousel with special hand-carved things of all the Disney characters. What does that remind us of, Epic fans?
Go ahead. Oh, yes, the carousel that's actually going to be featured in the middle of the park.
Of course.
I gotcha.
This is so playing catch up. Oh, we've been aware of it for 10 years. It's no big deal. We've been innovating it all this time and putting in one at a time. And they didn't, by the way, have models of any of this stuff where when you held your phone up, you got to see things animate and do stuff like they have over at Epic, did they? They couldn't.
No, they didn't. I thought it would have been cool if they did at D23, but they didn't.
Well, you know, it's like they're still. Well, wait for next year. They'll try that.
There was this interesting post. Let me see if I can find it. From 21 Royal Street, Andy Castro, who was talking about some of the problems connected with the event. Apparently, they had blocked off two of the Imagineering pavilions for after the presentation actually commenced. So the presentation took place on Saturday night, right? And then they unveiled these two pavilions on Sunday, but that only left one day in which to do that, and they were separated. So basically, everybody was trying to get into these pavilions to try to see what the new stuff was, to try to see these models, and because they were two separate locations, well, people had to stand in two lines basically all day to see these models here. So that was really, really unfortunate.
Almost like they did it on purpose so they could have pictures of, look at everybody lined up. They're so excited about our new stuff.
Well, so that was interesting because I noticed that when I was walking around, I'm like, why is this blocked off the way this is? There's something behind there. And then, one of my predictions was that they're going to talk about, Avatar Land and show either concept model or, some new artwork. And they didn't do anything at the, presentation. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, guess I was wrong. And the next morning, boom, there's Ken Potrock with the, model that I thought they were going to show. And they had it, and I was kind of disappointed because they're like, darn it, that's a bummer for people who didn't get tickets to the last day because they're not gonna be able to see it. Yes, you can see it online, but not in person. But yeah, it was a big long line.
Do we think they're devious enough that they did that so next year people will spend more money to be there for the last day?
Well, maybe, but the other thing too was, and we're going to talk about this, what's happening in Disneyland Paris. But that's I thought when I looked at the model that they had, especially with Arendelle showing everything, I'm like, there's something missing from here because it's too big and too wide where there should be something over here. And then boom, we know what they announced that night, and we'll be talking about it.
We know what they announced that night.
They showed that.
We'll be getting to that. We'll be getting to that in just...
Anyway, it's to have this announced after as opposed to during. Talk about cowardice.
Very.
Well, and talk about knowing people are going to react negatively and saying, well, screw them. We're going to do it anyway.
It is very, very horrible to do this to fans, to put this amazing new land
bite
in front
the
of
hand
you.
that feeds you comes to mind.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But to wave this thing in front of you and say, hey, look at this amazing thing you're going to get. And then turn around and say, yeah, but you're going to lose something for it. That is not cool. And like you said, Lou, I do think that's appropriate. It's very cowardly indeed on the Walt Disney Company and Josh Tomorrow specifically to do that.
just like with Tiana, and just like with all the endless nonsense at Epcot, during the transition, not expansion, transition, you lose the capacity of what's there, and you don't get anything back for years.
Yeah. No, you do. You're going to have this whole area sectioned up by walls for a very, very long time as they transform this area into cars, which, by the way, would have made a lot of sense by the Tomorrowland Speedway. You could have even had that mountain obscure the big show building for Tron.
Behind Big Thunder and say, Route 66 went through where Big Thunder was.
Right.
That would make sense. But you know what I said earlier? I forget who I was when I said it. So they have given a whole new meaning to the term "go away green," because all these endless "go away green" walls are basically going to tell people, "Go away, don't buy a ticket."
It's so tragic. We'll leave it off with this from Chaz Finder. I love the nostalgic myself. I hope we never lose some of the things of the past by Walt Disney. They are definitely taking out the. Oh, go ahead.
Let's remember that when Disneyland opened in 1955, people had actually been on main streets like that, and some people had actually been in the Old West who were there.
Right.
It wasn't that far into the past.
Right.
Now, big deal. That's what all those old farts did.
I just find it weird that, you've got Frontierland, and while parts of the, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad do look like it's from Cars Land, and yes, you could get away with putting the two together. To me, I don't associate Frontierland with Pixar. And so that was just really weird to see that they're trying to put the two together.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, it's like, if you're going to do something with Frontierland, do something that has some relation with Frontierland, something that don't throw
the difference was as fanciful as Big Thunder is, and as much as the even before that, the balancing rocks and the mud pots and all that were exaggerated from reality. It's all based in a real look. It's based in Lassen and arches and a real look, whereas Cars Land is a pastiche of the real thing, with the Cadillac fender mountains and all the rest of it. So it's a different style. That's all. It's just a different style.
As
and they don't
say,
go together. You're right.
There's no turning back now.
That has more meaning
Absolutely
than
terrible.
Now. Jeez.
By the way, with all of this, they're still going to put a tarp over the hanging guy, right?
That's the big rumor.
Know.
They haven't yet, but I think they will. I think that's coming.
That's not true.
Well, let's go ahead and switch up gears here. Let's go ahead and get some of these super chats in here too, so that we can tell the fine people that we do appreciate all of the support. Let's see, right here, Hawaii Dragon Star again with the $5. Thank you so much. Disney should accept their elegance epic and do a properly thought up in an expansion. These reactions just have them fall behind more and more. I agree.
And let me expand on that too, specifically about Dark Universe versus this picture that is ugly of Villain's Land or whatever it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You don't win by trying to copy what the other guy's doing. That's why it's not Mickey's Horror Night. It's Mickey's Not So Scary. Mm-hmm. You do your thing, not their thing. You let them have their thing. You let them have the scary vampires with the blood running from their teeth and all the rest of that. You do funny cute. You do Ursula and Captain Hook and all of these charming bad guys, which is what everybody wants anyway if they go to Disney. But they think imitation is the sincerest form of flatulence. So anyway.
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, look, as my good friend Theme Park Casual said on our podcast last night, look, it looks really good, Villains, Land, and I think that they have the opportunity to do something good here. But they're either going to do really well or they're going to fail miserably, right? So they need to do it right. And if they don't do it right, it's going to look terrible. I'm really crossing my fingers and hoping that they take the time to do it right and to get all these intricacies in there. But what we're seeing right now is just beyond blue sky. So we're not really getting much at the moment. And by the way, as we know, anytime you see blue sky or just beyond blue sky, some things don't always turn out the way they're supposed to. Tiana's
Yeah, when they tell you, when they make a big point of, honest to God, it's not blue sky. We're actually in development. There's shovels turning on this. You know they're lying because their lips are moving.
Yes, I do agree, and I think Bob makes a great point.
If you don't think those flying dragony looking things weren't there until that video came out of the testing at Universal and suddenly got painted in at the last minute, then you don't understand these people at all.
Well, and I agree.
I do agree with that right there. Now, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing about this, okay? I remember when they debuted this concept art, okay? And I'm just saying, what you see here is the best this is ever going to look, because we know how
similar to that Avatar stuff too.
We know how things sometimes don't materialize in the way that they actually talk about. And so if you're going to get rid of Rivers of America, just know that this all better be worth it here, or else the fans will never forgive them, even if they have forgiven them now.
And by the way, when they originally built Disney World, you knew what Rivers of America was going to look like because you didn't have concept art. You had the real thing at Disneyland.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, look, like I was saying, they're either going to do it really well and it's going to be great, with this new Cars Land. But if they don't, and they screw this up, it's going to be a big stain on Disney, big time. And it's already, I know people.
I'm saying as well as it can be. And if it has no technical problems like Tiana and no issues, it still comes off as Me Too.
I know.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that's because of that style. If they'd gone, they said, well, let them do the spooky tooky. We're going to do the fun. It would have at least been different. There would have been a reason to visit both.
It's tragic. It's all tragic. But Light Dragon Star, thank you so much for the $5. Go ahead. And the M2M, is that right? Okay, thank you so much for the $10. Very much so. This is a park first and foremost. You need natural features like water and landscapes to appreciate the contrast with man-made structures. That's why I respect lands like Grizzly Peak and Frontierland. I don't disagree. The one major element that was missing from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was water. It would have bound that whole thing far more than just the war-torn Galaxy's Edge that we actually got. And it's so tragic that they didn't actually do that. There is hope on the way, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's see if I can get our next segment up right here. Let me see. Oh, is that it? No, that's not it. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Do apologize. I had it, and then I lost it. Here we go. As part of this D23 event as well, they announced that Monsters Inc. Land was coming to Disney's Hollywood Studios. Big deal, because nobody really had this on their radar. They provided a little bit more information about this, and I think it's very, very interesting. This by Chris Beatty. It's laughter that they're after when a brand new land themed around Pixar Animation Studios, Monsters Inc. comes to life at Disney's Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World Resort. The news was shared during Horizons, Disney Experiences Showcase at D23, the Ultimate Fan event. Disney Experiences Chairman Josh Giamaro, with a little help from Disney legend Bill Crystal, took to the stage to reveal plans to build a living, breathing, and not at all scary Monsters Inc. inspired area where you'll be able to stroll the streets alongside some of your favorite monsters. Now, a lot of people were pretty impressed with what they saw. Obviously, they showed a lot of artwork connected to this, and hey, rightfully so. This stuff looks really, really, really good, I will say.
I like the ice cream cones.
Cool.
The ice cream cones are very cool, right? I love that. I love the meeting with Sully here.
Go to the next one. Isn't that eyeball awfully? What's that? What's that V8 place at
V8
Cars Land?
Closed Cafe?
Yeah.
Yep. I believe there's like a chopsticks restaurant or something.
It's called Harryhausen's. Hello.
Harryhausen's.
Look,
should have dueling skeletons.
Did you not see Monsters Inc. there, Lou? Come on.
Of course. It's just been a while.
I haven't seen the film in quite some time, I will say.
So,
but what it says to me, with the fact this was kind of last minute, is that they've been talking to Mac or somebody about this coaster, and they finally let them know, hey, can we tell? And it was very recently got to go technically, is what I'm trying to say.
I think so. I'm pretty sure it's a Vekoma because Disney usually goes with them for
I'm just saying.
all their coasters. No, you're right. But this is the first suspended coaster that they've ever done before. It was something that I noted actually during the live stream. If you guys caught the TPP live stream when we did this, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. This is the first suspended. And absolutely it is. Very, very cool. The Monsters Door coaster has been on the books for a while for Disney Hollywood Studios. They actually were this close to going forward with it, but they opted not to at the very last minute. I believe this goes back to like 2004 or something. So 20 years in the making here. Very, very cool. But, and here's a big but right here. People are wondering where exactly is this going to go? Because as we just learned with the Rivers of America project, we probably won't be getting a straight up expansion. We'll probably be getting a replacement. And that's so unfortunate to say in a park that desperately needs expansion. And well, there's already been some speculation to that end. This by The Wrap, True Taylor. As Disney tips shuttering Muppet Vision 3D, fans decry devastating move. The closing of the Hollywood Studios attraction, Jim Henson's final performance, was nearly announced at D23 before the last-minute change, The Wrap learns. Mere hours after Disney Experiences held its big showcase at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California, and touted major and exciting new film, TV, and parks projects at D23, the ultimate fan event, it appears one fan favorite attraction will be closing for good. Walt Disney Imagineering, the secretive arm of the Walt Disney Company responsible for the theme parks, has only a few weeks to decide whether to keep Muppet Vision 3D or shut it down. An individual with knowledge of the situation told The Wrap, and its closing was originally going to be tipped during a D23 presentation until a last-minute swap. So here you go. According to a source with knowledge of the situation, there was an alternate artwork that was going to be shown during the presentation that would have more directly pinpointed the Muppet Vision 3D is on the chopping block. At the last minute, that artwork was swapped for something more nebulous. There were fears internally that Josh Giamaro, the unflappable and widely beloved chairman of Disney Experiences, would get booed as he delivered the news. Eagle-eyed fans still spotted a telltale water tower that gave away the location, taking to social media to express their outrage. Disney declined to comment for The Wrap story. The Jim Henson Company did not return The Wrap's request for comment. Hours before the event, an insider told The Wrap that the ride would be placed within Animation Courtyard, an area of the Hollywood Studios park that formerly served as the demarcation point between Disney MGM Studios theme park and the area where actual productions were actually being held. The Animation Courtyard's name comes from the fact that Disney Animation's satellite studio used to be there, and it was later where guests would load onto trams for a backlot tour of Florida facilities. It all made sense. The area is very open, not being used for much besides Star Wars walk-around exhibit called Launch Bay that was built in service of promoting Star Wars The Force Awakens, and now is mostly abandoned. But another individual with knowledge of the situation pointed to why Muppet's Courtyard, or Grand Avenue as it currently is known, would be more ideal for Monsters Inc. land. There's already a restaurant themed to Rizzo, the lovable Muppet Wrap, and infrastructure for shopping. And chiefly, there's already a false city aesthetic in the area, perfect for converting Monstropolis. Oh, man. What a way to stretch that $60 billion. This is just
the magical
terrible.
60 billion. The fantastical 60 billion.
So this is it right here, folks.
Blue sky 60 billion.
This is it right here. So you can see Muppet Vision 3D in this big theater structure right here. You can see Mama Melrose, Pizza Rizzo, and right next to it, Star Tours. Our beloved Star Tours might actually get the axe as well. And why? Because of this little, I mean, it's blink it, you miss it. This little false theming right here, representing a cityscape street that might emulate Monstropolis itself. This is terrible. I can't tell you how bad this is. And again, this is only one of 4 locations that might be getting the axe for this thing. Guys, I've gone on long enough. What do you guys think?
You're right. What else?
Well, that was short and quick, Lou.
What else is there to say?
Well, I think I also have an animation area too over there.
Yes, the Animation Courtyard is going to be, I believe it's the location labeled pink on this, there you go. Mickey Central was able to label it for us. Animation Courtyard right up there at the top left of your screen, right there. Bottom right, it's going to be Muppet Vision 3D and Star Tours. My pick would have been Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular.
Especially since they're putting Indy into Animal Kingdom.
Right, you're getting Indiana Jones and Animal Kingdom, so obviously it's going to be the residence for that specific IP. And
Let
plus,
me tell you something: when you've just killed an entire IP with a terrible movie, you don't need two places to pretend. Hey, remember when it used to be good?
That's a fair point right there. That's for sure. But think about it too, Lou. We just saw an endless swath of negotiations between the labor unions that represent these cast members and Disney themselves. Right, the cost of putting on a show like that with all of its performance and so forth is growing every year. Yeah. So, I mean, wouldn't it make sense to get rid of it?
Yes, it would. But the only issue with that is if they're trying to do this as cheaply as they can, that little blink and you miss at City Street doesn't have to be built from scratch as it would over there. They don't have to build the whole building from scratch like they would over there. So
why?
So that's the kind of nickel and diming thing that they would do these days, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
I would
how
like
they
to
are.
say that they should take the animation area, but yeah, there's a good chance they could, like you said, cut corners. I mean, this is
here's the question. The more they get rid of things that were movie-based, Animation Center, whatever, when does this become Disney's Adventure Park and not Disney's Studios? When did they change the name? They've already done that once when they took the MGM out of it, so who knows?
Yep. The focus of the park has shifted for sure. Go ahead, Bob.
Fish Jones said Bob Iger IP mining for almost 20 years, but as we've talked about, Trey, or Vash, sorry, they typically do, nothing but IPs. That's all he wants to do, right? IPs is his thing, and there's no originality, and so they just keep forcing all this stuff in there, but they're not really separating themselves from parks like Universal. When you have something like Universal, and granted, they have a bunch of IPs over there at Epic Universe, but at least they have some imagination as to what they're doing and how they're trying to do it.
And they're bringing in more IPs when you figure that Zelda stuff, where the totally not an IP Atlantis stuff used to be at the original parks at Islands.
True.
So
they are too, but I guess
which is fine, but you got to do it right. And when you do it at the expense of something people love, which I think that show is just spectacularly wonderful, the Muppet Show.
Yeah, I did too. And I would be devastated.
In fact, that movie is better than the movie we reviewed on the Genre Guys, in my opinion. The Great Muppet Caper.
Yeah, well, I will agree with you on that one.
Best.
I'll say this. There has been a rumor going around, and I was informed of it via actually Mickey Views. Interestingly enough, that there's an idea to take the Monsters Inc. laugh floor and place it within the Muppet Vision 3D theater, and now in addition to the roller coaster itself, now you have two attractions.
Yeah,
and you've just migrated that.
And
presence.
two is their definition of a land now, of course.
Right.
Yes,
exactly.
I know, which is ridiculous.
And it's like, this is.
What would they put?
It
what would they
keeps
put
getting
where
worse.
Laugh Floor is? What would they put over there in Tomorrowland? Bring
that opens that area
sure.
up. So that's interesting, Lou. So here's the thing: the one thing that wasn't announced at D23 that Bob, I remember having this conversation with you on the phone before this experiences panel actually took place. Yep. I said they're probably going to announce Tomorrowland. They did not, and the reason why I was saying that was because the speculation is that not only Disneyland's Tomorrowland might be getting overhauled and reimagined, but also Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom Tomorrowland as well. Mm-hmm. There's already rumors that maybe Wreck-It Ralph might be taking up residence in Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, and with an open space that Monsters Laugh Floor would provide them, well, who knows what they can actually put in that space. So
is Wreck-It Ralph a big enough IP to justify? I don't remember what the box office was.
Well, remember it had its original film and a sequel, which not a lot of animation films get. Tokyo is already doing that thing there, where they're replacing their.
Well, but see, the one thing we know they won't do at either Disneyland or Disney World is what Tokyo's doing with Space Mountain, which is building a whole new one.
Oh, they're not going to do that, Lou.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's too ambitious.
Yeah. Not even reskin the outside of the building like that.
Well, when we were talking, by the way, Vash, even my store said, look, they're going to announce Tomorrowland.
Right.
She even confirmed, hey, I'm hearing that there's going to be a new People Mover. I was like, oh, cool. All right, great. So you kind of confirmed what I was hearing. So I was like excited about that. And then they didn't announce anything, which shocked the heck out of me because even Mickey Views was saying, wait, what happened in Tomorrowland?
It makes you wonder if what they were going to announce would have maybe instead of just booing him, they would have tied him to the Burning Blade Tavern and set him on fire for Josh tomorrow. Maybe they had even worse ideas of what to do with Tomorrowland. And they said, well, if we're not mentioning this other stuff, we sure as heck ain't going there.
Well, that's a fair point.
Besides, if they'd made more announcements about Tomorrowland, they wouldn't have time for John Stamos to sing to you.
Yes.
They would have been there all night.
That's the thing. With all of those performances, they took up a lot of time that could have been used to express details about what they were doing. But, of course, we can't have that. Maybe that's why those musical performances were in there. I don't know. But
Meghan Trainor was there, right, singing? It could have been all about that space base.
Oh, Lou. But this art that you're seeing on your screen right here was released, I want to say, 2019, 2020? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was supposed to launch a segmented Tomorrowland Overhaul that would have seen the entire land completely rejuvenated. And nothing has happened since. And you know what they say about Tomorrowland? It's the land that will be built tomorrow. So that is very, very interesting. Let's go ahead and get.
No, they'll come up with a new princess named Tamara and change it to Tomorrowland.
Stop, Lou.
Oh no, Lou! Terrible.
Don't ruin my childhood memory.
Boy. There we go. From let's see, Andrew M. 499. Thank you so much. First SC ever. Oh, thank you so much for your first super chat. Very much appreciate that. I couldn't do this during Pro. I was at Muppets 2 months after opening in 91. That is so cool. I was 8. So many fond memories. Went 14 times between 91 and 97. That is super cool. I remember going regularly to that show, not at the Walt Disney World version, but at the DCA version when they duplicated that show for Disney California Adventure in 2001. That was February. In order to kind of augment some of the attraction set that they had there, we also got Bugs, Stuff to Be a Bug, and all that kind of stuff. I remember going very regularly to that show. Very awesome. Unfortunately, no longer there. They have replaced it with PhilharMagic, and it was cool to go to Muppets again back in my August trip last year. Very, very cool. I will say the concept for a Great Movie Ride Muppets theme, I think it was the Great Muppet Movie Ride. Very, very cool. If anybody loves the Muppets and would want to see more Muppets integration in the parks, go back to those concepts. They are super awesome. Sad that we never got them. But Andrew M., thank you so much for providing your first super chat and those amazing memories. Well, that takes us on over to, let's see where we can go. I'll leave it up to you, Bob and Lou. Do you want to go to Paris or Disneyland?
Well, let's go to Paris first, because that's one.
Yeah, the Olympics are over. It should be crowded again.
Oh, stop, Lou. Jeez.
I love it.
Right.
I love it. Okay, here we go. So we are going to Paris, in which we are finding out finally the third theme. And the reason why I say that, everybody, is because originally back in, I believe, 2018, when this concept was announced, that they were overhauling Walt Disney Studios Park, now Disney Adventure World. Terrible name. They announced 3 new themed lands. One was Marvel, one was Frozen, and the last one was Star Wars. Actually, a take on Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. But for some reason, they didn't talk about that nearly at all after that announcement was made. And the rumors were circling there, and we finally got our confirmation in 2022 with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge likely canceled at Disneyland Paris, third expansion at Walt Disney Studios Park still undecided. This article goes into how the president at the time, I'm not even going to try. But saying the third thematic area mentioned in 2018 concerned the Star Wars universe, but is no longer mentioned today. Is it still planned? The president answered, "We are still working on the third theme. We will make announcements about this when we are ready." Well, apparently they're ready.
Do not rush me. We will make the announcement when we are ready, you silly journalist person.
Exactly, right, exactly. Well, they're finally ready, and now it's going to be a Lion King ride announced. This is interesting right here. This from John Morrow. An adventure like never before will soon roar to life at Disneyland Paris. Everybody look left, everybody look right. Everywhere you look, the classic Walt Disney Animation Studios film, The Lion King, was in the spotlight during Horizon's Disney Experiences Showcase at D23, the Ultimate Fan event. This is interesting, folks, because if you see on your screen right now, I'll go ahead and I think I have, do I have a blown up version of this? I do. If you see right there, that's not the animated version of this, of this attraction. That's actually the live action version of The Lion King, featured specifically the 2019 Jon Favreau version. And everybody who saw this art was a little bit perplexed, like, wow, we're getting a live action version. And indeed, that was the plan for a while. Apparently, Bob Chapek, under his direction, wanted to go in that direction with this specific theme and with this specific land. It was really a choice between Avatar or Lion King for the third theme. They went with the Lion King, and just so you know, they did go with the animated version. You can actually see in the model that you can see, it's very hard to see, I'm sorry guys, but you can see an animated Simba at the top of Pride Rock there. And, well, you can also see 3-seater rafts featured as part of the model, which is different from the actual artwork that shows single-file rafts.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So this plan has changed a little bit since its inception. That's apparently the third theme. Just so you know, folks, they went from Star Wars, a franchise that they valued at $4 billion back in the day, and they have now superseded it with Lion King, a 30-year-old animated film franchise. Guys, what do you think about this?
Those are the same flying things we saw in the Villain's Land. The configuration of the trio of them.
That's a fair point.
Well, I'm telling you, these guys, they just cut and paste their lives away and tell us it's going to happen.
I hear you.
I joked when we did the live show the other night. I said, you know, they do weddings at that pavilion next to the Grand Floridian. With this thing, they'll do baptisms of standing out there in Pride Rock and holding the baby up to the sky for 20 grand or so.
Now,
oh boy,
to be honest,
aren't they going to put a ship on top of that rock?
Oh, stop!
Yeah, it's going to be the Liberty Bell.
But see, here's the thing: when I first saw this, I'm like, why didn't they turn Splash Mountain? If they were going to get rid of Splash Mountain, why didn't they turn into Pride Rock? That
exactly.
Cool. Now, granted, I know there's no water ride, in the movie or anything like that, but there was no, mountains or
lagoons or salt mines Pride Rock in the sequel.
I'll say this, Bob. Given that they were thinking about single file logs, which we know the only Splash Mountain in the world who has single file logs is Disneyland Splash Mountain.
That's right.
That's right.
Might not. So it might have been on the table at one point.
Now our friend Casual, he was like, no, I can't see, I see Pride Rock, but it's next to the water. I don't like that. I mean, they could have mixed it up a little bit, but I think that looks cool. That looks way better than Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And
oh, yeah,
looks like
absolutely.
100%.
And also, like you said, the model, I thought it was cool that they had 3-seater instead of, just a single file. Right. But this looks fun and exciting to me. And so when I saw the model, and I was mentioned this earlier in the stream, I saw the model of Arendelle. I'm like, wait, why is that spot empty over in this area? And I was like, oh, that's where they're going to add this new area. And so sure enough, that's where it was.
Yeah.
Because that was if you saw the model of the in the previous section, that was not there. So
right, it was blank.
See this? Yeah, it was just blank, and it was like this big open area. So I'm fine with them adding this. I mean, it looks like a ride / little part of a land. I think they're going to expand upon it. It'll be cool. I think it's going to be a nice addition. I just think it's going to be okay. I know some people don't agree. And by the way, reply by mail. I totally disagree with you. He says this could also be a future replacement for Tokyo's Disney Splash Mountain. No, you do not want that replaced. Reply by mail.
Don't say that.
But
It's
I know.
terrible.
Well, and to be culturally relevant, the French have a big history in Africa of colonialism. So they do. So
I know they do,
but
Oh,
and therefore it makes more sense there than it does here. Maybe
That's a fair point. I mean, there
I
is
get
some
the point.
crossover with culture there. I mean, if you look at the modern,
I just
version of that,
want to
not good,
know
but-
when you come out that hole, will you have just seen Scar with a bunch of colored bottles getting drunk up there? A la Mama Odie.
I don't think so.
Marty Snyder says, but will the Lion King ride have beignet smell in the queue? No, they'll have turkey leg smell.
Marty, killing it in the chat as always. I'll say this. So the history of Splash Mountain at Paris actually goes back quite a while. I wrote this up on Twitter. I'll go ahead and read it for you. Here, initial planning and development was filed by Disney with the French government back in 1996 for Splash Mountain in Disneyland Paris Park at that time. The idea was to incorporate it as part of the resort's revitalization effort for that park in a similar way that Discovery Mountain, later Space Mountain, vastly improved the popularity and visitation for the resort as a whole when that ride opened in 1995. The plan was to have it open by 1999, would have been occupied on the far edge of the property, nestled between Adventureland and Frontierland. Those ideas were scrapped as the resort struggled with financing, as all available resources required allocation towards the upcoming Walt Disney Studios Park, now Disney Adventure World, lest they lose the rights to the land as stipulated in the original Euro Disneyland contract. Yeah. They had to build a new park on the land adjacent to Disneyland Paris within 10 years of the Paris park actually opening, so that they don't forego that. The resort opted for many less ambitious rides scattered throughout the park instead. Also, too, the thing that I didn't note here, but the other thing that kind of put the kibosh on this was the fact that, it snows in Paris. So to have a water ride.
Because remember that Space Mountain in Paris has that telescope thing to keep it undercover when you're going up the incline. This is all open.
It's all open, and this might only be usable for
it snows in Kilimanjaro too, but I wouldn't suggest you go down a flume on it. So
it's going to be really interesting to see what they, how they actually handle this, and what operational requirements are different here than they are for the rest of the parks around the world. We'll have to see, but boy, oh boy, Lion King over Star Wars. Man, would have never thought I'd see the day, but we've just seen it, folks. So that was very interesting indeed. Let's go over to Disneyland here, and let me just go ahead and find where I'm going to start things off.
It's like I go there twice a week or something. Oh,
yes, indeed, right? Let's see here. Yes. Okay. So, as part of the Disneyland announcements, let me see here. Should I go?
Are we talking about DCA or Disneyland?
That's the interesting part.
Yeah, well,
that's the interesting part
we do.
Disneyland got nothing, folks. They got absolute jack squat from this whole presentation, which was very, very unfortunate. However, Disneyland Paris, on the other hand, hasn't seen a big expansion for that park in like 30 years, from what I understand. So, it could be worse. But as part of this whole D23,
I'm sorry, but that's so El Rio del Tiempo early stuff.
Yes,
right.
yes,
I mean,
yes.
They talked about retheming that to this a long time ago, didn't they?
Yes, they did. So I'll go ahead and set it up here. As part of this new D23 Expo presentation, they announced Coco coming to DCA. That took a lot of people by surprise because a lot of people didn't have that on their rumor sheets there. But yes, you can see right here, as Lube did point out, this is essentially a rehash of the ideas that they had for Rio del Tiempo, or the Grand Fiesta Tour as it's now called, in Epcot. And yes, folks, it was going to come. This was going to make its way out in Epcot for a long time. Had been worked on for quite some time there, but there were some last minute things that held it up. From what I understand, the restaurant didn't want to be closed for that long. Mexico might not pay for it. Now that I say that, that's oh boy. Now we're gonna be politically
I want to know
disfavored.
if they do it at Disneyland, will they have the margarita bar?
Well, they do have margaritas. It's the DCA.
Well,
They do.
but I mean, they do that really. Is it as complex as the one in Mexico at Epcot? Because that one has all these really innovative, really good margaritas.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's
No.
Oh, they might build an accompanying, little Mexican village here that might offer some.
Well,
some
haven't
of
they
those
been doing
amazing
a
margaritas.
successful show over there towards the Grand Floridian at the back of DCA for quite a while now, based around these movies? Seems to me. Anyway.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so there's been a Coco presence for some
Right.
time, right, Bob?
Yeah, so and that presence has been, so it's right behind or over by Goofy Sky School and around the corner by the Silly Symphony Swings and Jumping Jellyfish. Well, basically they have the Christmas parade, right?
Right.
And then they usually have the Coco come out with the puppets and everything, which is really, really cool. They do it really, really well.
Yeah, I've
and
seen
then
video. It looks
obviously-
great.
Right. They do. And so that would be great. But, to put it over in that area, I don't know. They would have to either get rid of that restaurant area or they'd have to get rid of Goofy Sky School. Or they could try to put it in the back behind the coaster.
Back where what about where that mountaineering ranger training thing was behind?
So you're talking about the Redwood Trail.
Yeah,
So-
whatever it was. I didn't remember the
Well,
name. I'm
so
sorry.
I don't think they would
Redwood
put it
Creek
there.
Challenge Trail.
Yeah, Redwood Creek Challenge. That's really cool. But now you're getting into the whole, Grizzly, river area.
Yeah,
I don't think they would do that. If anything, they might put Avatar over there. But I would hate to see any of that destroyed because that is a very fun woodsy area.
I love it. It's woodsy and real, and
Yes, exactly.
it feels like Tom Sawyer's Island did in the old days.
Yeah.
In that
Exactly.
sense of you're not in the city anymore, you're in the woods.
Well,
So
I think I'll tell you where I think this is actually going to be, and it has to do with not only Disneyland Forward, but the parking garage associated with it. Because you'll note, Bob, that they announced this would be coming, or at least start construction in 2026. Now that's an odd date. Why so far in advance? Well, I'll tell you why I'm thinking it's so far in advance. As part of Disneyland Forward, the plans for Eastern Gateway were kind of folded in there, and the plans for Eastern Gateway would have seen the transportation facility or transportation center,
Bus loading
bus
and unloading
drop-off.
area.
Exactly.
Right.
Incorporated into the new parking garage on the other side of Harbor, across from what was the old carousel. And that would have then opened this big expansion pad to the north of Hollywoodland. And I'm thinking, because, obviously it's going to take some time to actually facilitate that changeover, that's why they have a delayed date for this specific project. I'm thinking that Coco, with its little Mexican-themed area, is actually going to go in Hollywoodland, and Avatar, which is far less developed, is going to take up residence as the first Disneyland Forward official attraction in the Simba lot due to the scale of that attraction. So to get to that as well, folks, Avatar updates announced for Disney California Adventure. This published August 11th by Ali Rubenstein. Pack your bags. We're heading to Pandora. In the future, you'll be greeting everyone with I see you in Na'vi when this all-new exciting destination arrives at Disneyland Resort with awe-inspiring sights and experiences. As Disney Experiences Chairman Josh D'Amaro announced during the Horizons Disney Experiences Showcase at D23, the Ultimate Fan Event, we're venturing further into Pandora with a destination at Disney California Adventure. While Pandora, the world of Avatar at Disney's Animal Kingdom, is based on the Oscar-winning James Cameron film Avatar, this new destination draws inspiration from Avatar: The Way of Water and the upcoming Avatar films to bring Pandora to life in a brand new way. We were also updated on what that film would be at the experiences, not the experiences.
That's fire
showcase.
and a different version of the Na'vi or something like that, right?
Right. Avatar, Fire, and Ash. And I believe it was expressly stated at the panel itself, at the Experiences Showcase, that Fire and Ash would be one of the main themes incorporated into this new land right here. They did release some new concept artwork.
Bob, you're going to hate me, so just don't listen. I I suddenly realized what this and that Villain's Land and the earlier Avatar stuff all reminds me of.
What's that?
A bloomin' onion. Really? Look at that. Look at that circular.
It does look like a bloomin'
I'm going,
onion.
get me to Outback for some onion, please.
Oh, that's so funny.
That is
It
hilarious.
just came to me. I mean, honest to God, that's not premeditated, but I thought,
Yeah.
I feel like Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters going, this means something, only instead of mashed potatoes.
Folks,
So,
he's
by
sharp.
the way, I was going to say, I was actually going to tell you guys, exactly what Vash just told you. I think it's great because this is going to be part of the new expansion for Disneyland Forward, and I agree with you. I was going to say before you started to talk about it that Coco is going to go over to the Hollywood area. I'm glad you said it instead of me because you said it so eloquently, of course, and you always do. But yeah, I think that you're right on the mark here. I think
Go back to that last picture.
Sure.
Somebody they were getting graded, I guess, by some supervisor.
Yes.
Try more depth. There. Go back.
No, love it.
There, at the bottom of that red note. Try more depth with perspective on the next one.
See.
See, or is it I don't know. Is that the person C? I don't know. But see, to me, I think it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. They really need to make this a good land. I don't want to see a rehash.
The question is it a redo of the rides that we already have, or is it a new ride system?
No, I think it's going to be a new ride system, or it's going to be different. I don't think it's going to be exactly like the water ride in Pandora at Animal Kingdom. And the reason being is that it's based off of the new, or the latest movie, the Way of Water. And I think that, from the photos are showing, I mean, it almost looks like a mix between like Jurassic World's ride at Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, where it's more exciting, where things are jumping out of the water. Look, you've got the animals on the side, and so it looks like it's going to be more adventurous, and I'm hoping that's the way it's going to be. It may not have a big, huge drop, but we'll see.
That's a better Bayou than Tiana's.
Oh, yeah. Much better Bayou than
It
Tiana.
is.
See, look at that.
I'll tell you what I know about this. It has been rumored for a little while now that this is going to be utilizing the Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean ride system. And if anybody knows the Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean ride system, it's a very, very, very advanced piece of tech right there. Essentially, the boats are driven essentially on a track, utilizing these two tugs, essentially. And you can see how these tracks kind of they separate in this way. Well, when those tugs that you see below this, the boats there, take those different courses, then you can orientate
it alters the
shipping.
direction of the boat or the angle of the boat compared to the track. It doesn't just follow the track; it swivels on it by virtue of the fact that it's attached in two places.
Correct, and it's a very, very cool effect. It is awesome. The Imagineers have wanted to incorporate this specific tech into another attraction anywhere they could in the world, and it looks like Disneyland Resort, specifically Disney California Adventure, is going to be the choice. I tried to brighten up this picture to kind of give you an idea. You can see that these vehicles are very similar in size to the Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean vehicles. It seems to be all but confirmed that's the right system that they're going with, at least for the main attraction as part of this land. Also, too, it will probably feature shops, restaurants, or sort of like some Thule Canteen or what they've done before. But the big attraction is going to be unique for the Disneyland Resort. So,
Great.
Just wanted to go ahead and put that out there.
Great.
I know.
How long from now do you think this will?
We're looking at ways. Hey,
I'm old, I can't wait that long for this stuff.
I know. So, okay, so the original Avatar was announced back in 2011. Was the announcement of the Disney and James Cameron getting together? That was before the Fox purchase, you see, and they didn't break ground until I want to say 2013, and it didn't open until 2017. My guess, because this is Disneyland Forward and because this is a symbol lot, a lot of infrastructure is going to have to be laid down. There's a lot of work that has to go into this. I'm going to guess this is 6-7 years minimum.
Is Rhodey involved or not?
Rhodey is not involved from what I can tell. James Cameron is, and apparently John Landau was also working on this before he passed away.
Yeah, he would have.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
And I think you're
high
right.
hopes, but
part of
I
this
will
next
check
thing
my
is,
sources. I went to high school with Cameron's lawyer, so
no.
uh,
Oh,
There you
please,
go.
please. I want to know. Go ahead, Bob. You were saying.
I forget what I was saying, but Argentum said so. Lots of screens, lame. Well, look, the one in Shanghai though, it does have some big screens, but it's not all screens.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. And the thing is, if they incorporate some of the things that you're seeing in these pictures, and I get that these are kind of like the blue sky pictures, but if you see some of the things happening, to me, it looks like a mix between like Jurassic World or the Jurassic Park ride and the Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean. And I have heard that as well, that it's supposed to be the ride system for.
you know what's funny about that too? Everybody knows kids love dinosaurs, right?
Right.
So this is dinosaurs without Jurassic dinosaurs, and yet they're pulling the dinosaurs out at Animal Kingdom to put in Indy. It's kind of
but if you think, look,
that's funny.
I'm sad to see that dinosaurs going away. Indiana Jones, I think with the concept they have, sounds really cool, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. The dinosaur land area was kind of
I agree. I'm just saying it's.
But yeah, I hear you.
It's what are we looking at here?
Well, this is
Shanghai Disneyland's Pirates of the
Because
Caribbean
I have
attraction.
seen photographs like this, almost identical to this, of back in the day of things like the Seahawk and all those great swashbuckler movies where they had two full-size ships on a soundstage like this, so they can push them together and have the jumping from one to the other on a rope and sword fighting and all the rest of that stuff.
So this is from Shanghai Disneyland. This is officially the largest show building that they've ever constructed for any attraction ever. I believe it's over 200,000 square feet, which I think that's correct. But these sets are absolutely massive to encompass this attraction right here. Very, very cool. I'm hoping it's this ambitious. I think it will be because James Cameron is involved, and Bob Iger, he wants to make his entertainment creatives happy. I'm fairly certain this is going to be. I mean, look, I've gotten flack for this attraction ever since this thing was originally announced by Bob Iger. First earnings call back, he was like, Avatar Experience. Everybody said that, it's going to be a meet and greet. No, it's not going to be a meet and greet, folks. It's going to be more ambitious than that. Wow. And finally, we got our confirmation the other day, which is cool. I'll say this, too, about Coco and Avatar. DCA is in desperate need of boat rides, of large capacity attractions that are more scenic in nature, right? And these really do fit the bill. I think they're a great choice. Coco, with a huge Hispanic population in Southern California, is an awesome choice for Disney California Adventure, and Avatar is very cool. Do they fit the theme of California Adventure? No, but I'm guessing a name change is coming thusly to reflect that.
Well, it's funny.
They're
using Adventure in Paris now, so I don't know.
Oh boy, we'll just have to see. But the future, at least, is brighter in Disneyland than it is maybe in Walt Disney World.
I agree.
Unfortunate. We have one last super chat right here by Hawaii Dragonstar. Thank you so much, good sir. $5 again. Thank you. They should wait on Avatar Land. The other movies are supposed to be Elemental. Earth and Water are done. They have 2 planned for Fire and Air as well. Yeah, apparently they are taking those into account. So at the Experiences panel, the gal who was the lead of the project actually came out on stage and said, yes, they are taking into account the future films. While Pandora was very much Avatar based, this is definitely going to incorporate not just Fire and Ash, and not just Journey of Water, but Way of Water, but the other films coming out as well. There's one more story I want to get to. What do you think, guys? Walt Disney or Marvel?
Well, I think we could cover both of them. We do it real quick.
But
I say
that's
we should probably
ambitious.
talk about Walt's. Wait, are you talking about Walt Disney Park or are you talking about Disneyland?
Walt Disney, the audio animatronic.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Alrighty. Well, it was also announced at this Experiences panel, which we knew for quite some time, if you've been following that Park Place coverage, that Walt Disney was coming to the Great Moments of Mr. Lincoln Theater or the Opera House Theater. and will be playing actually in rotation with that show. And it looks like there's going to be some reconfiguring of the sets in order to allow for a turntable in which these shows can be intermixed amongst each other and have dueling performances there. Walt Disney: A Magical Life features the first animatronics figure of Walt. And here's how Imagineers created the attraction. This has been a very controversial inclusion into the world of Disney parks, because famously Walt Disney didn't want himself represented at all in a Disney park. He didn't even want the partner statue. So to actually take him and represent him as an animatronic is very controversial, to say the least. In fact, we have had family members of the Disney family actually speak out against this change. This here from That Park Place by Marvin, the movie monster, I like to call him. Walt Disney's granddaughter begs Disney to stop developing Walt animatronic. You can see right here what Joanna Miller's comments were. Please, everyone, stop the madness. Do not let them turn Grandpa into a robot. My mom tried to stop this years ago. That would be Diane Disney Miller, and they respected her wishes. There's plenty of film so people can see him and hear him talk. He has told you everything on TV show, lead-ins and specials. Everyone who stepped forward when Uncle Robert's house was going to be destroyed, you did it. Thank you. We have that protected because of all of you. Please help protect the memory and legacy of my grandpa. Very, very controversial here, guys. What do you think?
I think I sympathize with her entirely. I think these people are cold-blooded enough they won't give a damn, and they'll do it anyway. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that nobody seems to be talking about, we're talking about the destruction of basically Frontierland and the rivers of America. We're talking about taking American stuff out of the parks. To the degree that you're putting Walt in, you're taking Abraham Lincoln out, even if it's on a rotating basis. You are diminishing the presence of perhaps our greatest president, and that's part of their political agenda too.
That's an unfortunate reality as well. Bob, what do you think?
So this I have a kind of love-hate relationship with this thing, because I think that if they do it right, it could be pretty cool and amazing. However, they have to do it right. And they're already working on this. There's no stopping it. I agree.
Oh yeah, it's already going in, folks.
It's already being done. Permits were filed. They're working on it. It's closed. And look, it is rotating. I don't think it's going to be a very long presentation with Walt Disney. I think it's going to be like, and who knows, maybe they're going to just do the one with Walt Disney and then it rotates and you got to see, it as part of the, show. But they were talking about it rotating, so I think it is going to be two separate. I can't imagine it'd be too long. I understand where his granddaughter's coming from, saying, hey, look, everything we have is already been, done on film. You've seen what he's done. He said everything in TV and ads and movies and stuff. We don't need to do this. And I get that. I don't think Walt ever imagined himself being an animatronic in the park, and I don't think he probably would have had himself as an animatronic in the park. But again, if they can do it right, it might be really cool. But if they can't, like the hologram they did, then a lot of people are going to have issues and problems. Well, go ahead.
The issue is what happens when it experiences a Tiana.
Well, so I was talking to my friend Casual about that on our podcast yesterday, and I got to be honest with you, they are doing some new animatronics, right? But they updated Lincoln and they've done the Hall of Presidents and all that stuff. And I've never seen it break down. I've never seen any problems or issues with the robot personally when I've gone to see it. That would be awful if that does happen, but hopefully they would not.
They had him with Lincoln when they were putting it in the fair. It opened about 3 or 4 weeks after the fair, but that's a long time ago, and they figured it out. Yeah. So anyway.
But that's the whole thing, is that I've never been to it when it's had problems or broken down or anything like that. So I don't think we're gonna have that. However, yes, there could be problems or issues. Something could happen, and that would not be good to see. But again, if they can do it right, then fine, we're going to be good. If they can't, then this is a really, really bad idea and they should be doing it.
So I want to let's. I want to take you through some of the history here. So Blaine Gibson, a famous sculptor for WDI, Walt Disney Imagineering, has sculpted some of your favorite animatronics figures have been
Including
sculpted by
Lincoln.
Blaine Gibson,
He
including
actually
Lincoln
got
himself.
Lincoln's life mask to do the Lincoln.
Correct.
Absolutely, and he also sculpted pretty much every single president, all the way up to George W. Bush, and then obviously he retired before Obama's presidency. So this guy is world famous. He was Walt's choice for everything sculpt in Disneyland, including not just limited to animatronics, but sculpts of statues and so forth. Also did the partner statue back in 2000. So Blaine was asked.
That was controversial too. Sorry.
Absolutely it was. And he actually references that in this direct quote right here. He was asked by the Jansen brothers back in 1995 if there should ever be an audio animatronics figure of Walt. Gibson was adamant. There are several reasons I would be against doing that, and it isn't just the sacred aspect of it. I know just how crude our medium is relative to the human figure. You can't get Walt's smile. You can't program that smile that I've got on Walt's statue and have him be able to go into that. You'd have to move from a scrawl to a smile because Walt at times would get a twisted up expression and one eyebrow would go up. He had a facial range that was absolutely beyond our capability. Lincoln is believable because we have no personal memories or films of his speech and mannerisms. Walt was a man whose movements meant something and his expressions were so lively and enthusiastic you can't get that with an animatronic figure. The statue, to me, is of Walt during one of his moments when he'd say, "Let's do it this way." This is interesting because the company has attempted to bring Walt to life, not as an animatronic figure, but actually as a completely AI created digital figure. They actually had this in the introduction of the traveling roadshow that was celebrating the 100 years of the company's history. This from Philadelphia right here. And you can see this is completely AI generated imagery that you're seeing of Walt. And he's expressive, but maybe not in the best way. It's just a little off. And so I can kind of see what Blaine is getting at here. He has a very distinctive set of mannerisms and expressions that are very hard to emulate. Now, the Walt Disney Imagineers did go into that, and they said here, creating our first Walt figure is an idea that's been whispered in the hallowed halls of Imagineering for years, decades even, said Diamaro at the Horizons Disney Experiences Showcase. We just had to wait for innovation to catch up with our dreams, and we're finally ready. Tom Fitzgerald, Senior Creative Executive, Walt Disney Imagineering, said, so much of Walt's philosophy is timeless and is valid today as it was in his lifetime. We wanted the show and story to appeal to all ages, and while some of our younger audience may not know as much about Walt Disney, we felt that his story could be inspirational to them. Fitzgerald said, follow your dreams, turn setbacks into successes, never give up, and give the world your very best. It says right here, we've created so many audio animatronics figures over the years, from pirates to presidents, but to create a figure of Walt Disney is an honor and a challenge, he said. How can we create a lifelike impression of Walt Disney with the nuances that made him unique in person? That twinkle in his eye, his expressive face, those eyebrows, and the way he used his hands to punctuate his ideas and thoughts. We scoured through his speeches and documents to find words that would bring him to life in a way that we felt as if we dropped into the office for a chat. Our hope is that the end result will give guests the best sense of Walt and his engaging and warm personality. Goes on to say that this is going to be the most advanced animatronics figure that they've ever done, which is actually what they said about the 2010 version of Lincoln back when he was introduced into the Great Moments of Mr. Lincoln Opera House, I believe under the direction of Tony Baxter for that version that plays today. Obviously, that show might be altered in some way in order to allow for something like this. And that figure, while his head was very advanced, his body wasn't. I believe it was like a 70s body that they used for that show. Walt, on the other hand, it sounds like they're really going full bore on this. This is one, like Bob said, they have to get right, because if they don't, there'll be no forgiving them after this.
No, absolutely not. You know, maybe they should just bring Bill Burns in, who's the Walt Disney, cosplay guy. And just say, hey, can you come to the park, a few times a week? And that way we don't have to do the animatronic, because everyone loves seeing, him in the park.
Yeah, he is great. He is awesome. Have had the pleasure of meeting him before. Very cool. I don't know, guys. This can go really south. You already have family members speaking out. Obviously, I think they had. Did they have Roy P. Disney there, which was son of Roy E. Disney, then son of Roy O. Disney?
It was Disney, and he was applauding there at the panel, and but
Disney
that's
as opposed
opposite.
to P Diddy.
But no, it's instead of his father.
I know.
he's
Not P.
Oh boy.
I get it.
But I think Blaine's differentiation between a statue and an animated figure was pretty important.
Yeah.
As an artist,
Sure.
he understands the difference.
Yeah.
And anyway, and when they talk about his philosophy and sharing it with people, they did all that in the museum stuff leading up to the show that talked about him and showed his office. And it's not like we don't know the story. I don't know that. I'll tell you one thing. It'll be a much shorter show than the Lincoln show, which is about throughput and like that too for them.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean it's
I
all
think
about
it is
throughput
going to be
nowadays.
shorter.
I have not done the sing along with Belle thing in France at Epcot, but I bet it's shorter than Impression de France.
Well, I think they'll probably do the dedication speech, and they'll have a couple other things that are,
Well, they'll put it together like they did the Lincoln speech way back when. The Lincoln speech is about 10 different speeches, bits and pieces put together,
Right.
He never said it that way. So
Right.
Yeah. I think it is about 10 different speeches that are kind of cobbled together. I think one of them was from like a funeral or some kind of eulogy. It's actually a great speech that culminates a lot of his
I hope
ideas,
rather
and-
than trying to do it with AI, that they find somebody who's as good at his voice as Royal Dano was giving us the impression of Lincoln's voice, which of course we don't know what he really sounded like.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I hope they do go with that route, but knowing modern Disney, they just
I hope they just
help
use his
themselves.
actual audio that they have recorded, and that would be the best thing they could do.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
They're going to do it. So who cares what we think, right? Who cares what his
Time
family
will tell.
thinks? Yeah.
Oh, that is so true. That is so true. All right, guys.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get this one real fast here. There's a point I want to make about this that I think is very relevant here. As part of this Experiences Showcase, we also saw Infinity Defense. The reason I say that is because we already know we were getting this attraction. We just didn't have a name for it. Now it's Infinity Defense. This is the
Infinity
famous.
Defense?
Yes.
Yeah.
God, it sounds like a deodorant. I mean, really,
on a
it's
roll
a
today.
bad name. It's a really bad
geez.
name.
It's not a good name. I'll put it.
not.
I'll
Anything
agree with.
that takes more than
Lou
2 or
on
3
this.
syllables to read on that sign is a bad thing. I mean, God.
So
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
interesting is I had the chance to talk
Go ahead.
to one of the Imagineers who actually worked on the ride vehicle for this because they had
Mm-hmm.
they're showing the ride vehicle, and he basically was saying, look, it hasn't been announced whether it be on a track, not on a track, if this really is, what it's going to look like, and it was like, wait, you're showing this, saying this is what it looks like. You're saying it might not look like that. And he was like, well, you never know. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. This is interesting. So I think there's a lot of, things that they have not finalized or fleshed out for this ride. Because it's changed multiple times. It was going to be the Quinjet ride, then it wasn't going to be the Quinjet ride, then it was going to be a shooting ride. Now it's not going to be a shooting ride.
But
now
the building is the building. It's got to fit in the building they built originally, right?
No. It's going to be on the side of the building actually.
Oh, I see. So they're expanding to fit. All right.
Yeah. So you see
Yes.
that can show right here in this picture. You see the building, and then off the side of it is the entrance for Infinity, and it still may be behind that area, but also you've got another ride there called Stark Flight Lab. What the heck
Yeah,
is that?
Stark Flight Lab. That's an
geez.
interesting, wasn't it? So, Okay. Well, let's stick on Infinity Defense just for a second here because I
Sorry.
want to tell this
I
history
went
right
off
here.
topic.
God, that's a terrible name. I
Originally,
can't get over how bad a name that is.
it was supposed to be Avengers e-ticket, but it was far far more ambitious. So the Affinity Defense, what makes it kind of sad is because it utilizes tech that was pioneered by Universal actually back like 25 years ago with the opening of Islands of Adventure. Right? With Spider-Man, that's the tech that is actually used. It's just kind of swoop vehicles that you have. But the original concept was so cool. So think about this, guys. Think of you getting into a Quinjet, and it starts out like a traditional kind of almost Star Tours like experience where you get on, but you notice that you're getting into a 4-point harness. That's a little weird because that's different from Star Tours, which is just a normal seatbelt. The reason why is because you are taking a journey to Wakanda. And wait, do you see there? You see the Avengers in the heat of battle, and they need your help at a moment's notice. And your Quinjet and your seat transforms into, from what I heard, it was either going to be a Coco Arm attraction or the Avengers Flight of Passage attraction. But essentially, you would be taken into the battle from that Quinjet as that vehicle transforms. Super cool. It was super awesome. Unfortunately, we didn't actually get that, and now we're getting the King Thanos attraction from featuring multiverse characters from all around the Marvel Universe, which, less ambitious. And now we're getting not only that, but now a fourth attraction, I guess, at Avengers Campus. So you can see right here, this is the video from, I believe it's Jay Squivel, who recorded this at the Experiences panel. You can see that this Flight Lab attraction is a Kuka Arm attraction, but it's more of a flat ride, and you're on a conveyor belt that then you have the Kuka Arm actually connect to your vehicle when you actually get to that spot, and then that's when it takes you up and does the whole thing right there. So kind of cool. You have to understand, folks.
Legoland, though. Come on.
Yes, yes, I did hear about that. Legoland does have a version of this. Here's the thing. Okay. So this space, right, is very, very small. It was really only meant to house only one more attraction. The fact that we're getting two in this space is kind of cool, and I do like the use of space that we're getting at least some, at least people something else to do while they're in Avengers Campus, because it is very lackluster right now. Here's the thing, Lou. You see this narrow corridor that everybody is going to be traversing to get into Flight Lab or Infinity Defense. That is going to be an operational nightmare. When things back up. I mean, look.
I got to tell you what that point of view reminds me of.
Please.
Next door to the original Chinese theater on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
That whole area where you walk through and where the Kodak Theater is in there and
right.
The imitation, what was the movie? Anyway, I'm sorry, but I don't go to theme parks to go to shopping malls. I want to see something different.
It's not super inspired. I don't like the canopy that they have over this area. Hopefully it does protect against rain. We'll have to see about that.
Rain. It's California. Big deal. But anyway.
But, look, I have problems with the layout here. It's so weird that they didn't actually use the facade that was made for the original Quinjet attraction. It's very bizarre that they didn't actually go to that route.
Are they expanding into that area where the Doctor Strange thing was that died, or
no? Doctor Strange is actually still there. You can see it right there in the middle of your screen, which is interesting.
I mean, what are they going to do with that?
This is further backstage. So from what I've heard from my source and from what we saw is that they are going to build the two buildings, and they are going backstage. Part of that Avengers ride is going to be behind the Avengers building, and then it's going to exit out into the store. Right. In fact, there's a doorway. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a doorway that comes out from a back room for employees in the store. So that's where you're going to exit from. So that little blue door you see on the side of the building there, underneath the Avengers A, you're going to exit out of that area. And actually, that's not a door, but there's a door right there. So basically, you enter there, exit over here, and then for the other ride, you're going to exit it from the other side. So that's what my understanding was. And they are, going to build behind that building, but they're not actually going to make that building a part of anything. They're just going to kind of add to it.
But this narrow corridor right here for two attractions, Bob, you know how this whole thing works right here. Think about Radiator Springs Racers and how many people, back up and clog around that area.
It doesn't even have the benefit of change in levels like going on Space Mountain does, to get you up and out of things.
Yeah.
I know. Look, this is
Oh,
a concept, so I'm hoping this is not, the way it's
I
going to
think this
finally
is it.
be. But
I think this is it, Bob. This
Don't
seems pretty
say that.
developed now.
Yeah, I know, but I'm hoping it's going to be wider than what it looks like.
Hopefully.
We shall see.
I just see lightning lanes backing up into this place and just all kinds of chaos. If you've seen like a Rise of Resistance, for example, a lot of people crowd around the area. So we'll see. A couple things to note here, and then we'll go ahead and finish up here. Shanghai is also getting a Marvel attraction, Spider-Man, which is, I think, a take on the Cosmic Rewind coaster tech. I want to make sure and double check on that, but that's what it looks like to me.
It does look like that.
And then also to Hong Kong, which was supposed to get the Quinjet attraction that we were going to get in Disneyland. Well, it looks like Hong Kong Disneyland's getting a drop tower instead because there was no update given on their version of the King Thanos ride. Drop tower makes sense for a couple of reasons. One, that park is very space limited right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, very small footprint, up and down, as opposed to...
It was supposed to have a second park, and well, it's not going to get that for some time, at least until they work with the Chinese government there. But it's the only resort that doesn't have a drop tower in all of Disney's pantheon of parks and resorts. So I think that's obviously appropriate right there. The final note I want to say on this, oh yes, and Robert Downey Jr. is coming back to provide his likeness as Iron Man for these two attractions, which is really cool. We have not seen that before. Tom Holland obviously adds his likeness to the Spider-Man attraction, but we haven't seen a prominent character outside of that. That's pretty cool indeed. The last point I want to make on this, if I can find what I wanted to find here, sorry guys, was the fact that we got 4 Marvel attractions. 4 Marvel attractions, folks, at this experience panel. And we only got 1 Star Wars attraction, and that's an update to an already existing ride in Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. That tells you a lot.
Something they've been talking about doing for 5 years. We can swap out these movies anytime. It's easy. Well,
they said that about Star Tours when it first started. They said every 5 years we can have a new ride. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well.
Yeah, how well did that go?
Are they planning any changes in the controls? Because the big beef has been, I've never ridden it, but the big beef has always been, if you get an idiot in the captain's seat, you have a bad ride.
No, it's not. No, by the way, I got to ride this ride by myself one time, and I was the only person in there, and I chose not to pilot, but to shoot because I thought I would get the best score. No, even not having anyone pilot, we still crashed and had issues, and I got one of the worst scores ever playing by myself on the ride. So, but yeah, I'm excited that we're finally getting this. It's just like 5 years too late, but they need to have more of these because there's not enough. It's that I don't get me wrong, I like the ride. It's a lot of fun, but we've needed a new movie for a long time. And the problem is they talked about having several different movies all set up and ready to go from when it was launched. And did they ever do them? No. So I think they should definitely do some other stories.
Yeah, I think there should be a range of missions, not just like 1 or 2, but because it is a modular system. It was built in order to provide for multiple missions. From what I understand, they're harder to program than they initially anticipated. Obviously, this uses the Unreal Engine as part of its as part of its showcase here, and I believe I thought it was 8 Quadro series NVIDIA cards that were pooled together in terms of resource output to make this, to drive this. And there's like what, 20? Is there 28 pods? I believe.
Yeah,
29 pods. 28. Yeah. So I think it's isn't it like 4 times 7, and then there's 2 more after that. I think there's 30. Okay, sorry about that. I do apologize. Anyway,
carry the 3 times the square root of pi.
It's a cool attraction how like it works. And unfortunately, the experience has never been up to snuff. I'm hoping this improves a lot with Mando, but like you said, Bob, 5 years too late. You can only make it a first impression once and only. Right. And we'll
are we playing as Jedi, and aren't they the bad guys now, according to Leslie?
No, stop.
well, I mean, it's what I'm trying to say is the net result is we should have a good time, And the more confused they are with the storytelling, the less good time we have, in my experience.
Well, and
yeah, John Cusack says SLI. I don't think it's SLI. I think it's the new tech as part of that. This is all IT stuff. Sorry about that. I think it's the new what is it? The resource pooling that they have at NVS. Sorry.
Hey,
go ahead, Bob.
One last thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm not trying to change subjects for you here, but because I know we're trying to end the show here shortly, but there's one thing that they did announce regarding, the Bayou Adventure opening up on, the 15th of November.
Yeah.
What else did they announce on that poster?
Bayou Country. You're exactly right about that. Yeah.
Come on, man.
I know.
Bayou Country.
I know.
Geez.
I know. Yeah.
Look, I'm wrong.
There is an ancient Wakandan proverb that says, if you can't make beignet, you can't make a Bayou Country.
Okay,
actually, that was Banachek. It was Polish. Pardon me.
So I know we had Bear Country. I know we had Critter Country, but Bayou Country, really? Really?
Well, that's the excuse for the sod roof souvenir store, right?
Oh, for Lewis's.
Yeah.
There you go.
And what are they going to do with that mile-long bar thing in the back?
So
this is that.
This is what Bob was talking about right here. This is the new poster that they unveiled for Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Disneyland. It's supposed to be opening November 15th. At the very bottom, you see Bayou Country. So they're getting rid of Critter Country, which, by the way, they have critters in this stupid attraction. And now it's becoming Bayou Country, even though we're getting the Hungry Bear, restaurant and everything like that.
Yeah, but they're retheming that to the Country Bear Jamboree redo at Orlando, right? There was a whole story by bringing barbecue into it. Yeah,
right. But then why go with Bayou? Shouldn't we just keep with the Critter Country theme? It worked before.
But not only that, but now we've got New Orleans. Now, is Haunted Mansion part of New Orleans, or is it part of Bayou Country? I mean,
it's always been New Orleans, but
it has. I know, but still, now you're running right next to each other.
And then the big question is the train station really the Frontierland train station, or is it the Bayou or the New Orleans train station?
It'll stay.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, so because you leave Frontierland and go look in on the ride, right?
It's just very.
And meanwhile, the Telegraph is clicking out the opening day message from the station from the Two Brothers sequence from American Adventure.
Yes. Yeah.
Confused.
So did you know that, Bob, that the area behind the New Orleans Square train station that used to be the Frontierland train station was used for the American Adventure.
That scene at the end where they have the coffin coming back from the war.
Brothers, yeah.
And some of those buildings actually were not there. They were the Fantasyland station that got taken out when they expanded Small World back there. So anyway.
Very, very interesting.
Back when they didn't throw away good ideas, and now they only come up with new bad ones. But anyway.
Reply by mail. This is turning into my favorite live stream. Thank you. Can we get a regional parks channel? Carowinds to Hollywood, Busch Gardens, etc. in depth. Yeah. So if you want a little bit more of that, you got to go over to Theme Park Universe, which actually is now part of the Theme Park Wizard channel. It's kind of migrated there, which we go into a lot of the regional parks and stuff like that. I'll say this. I am working on a big expose for what is going on with Top Thrill Dragster, or Top Thrill 2, I should say. Hasn't had a new guest in over 3 months or something like that. Hasn't been operating at all. It is very bizarre, very weird.
In season? Wow.
And it's a brand new attraction, Lou. It just opened.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that going around.
It is so strange. So working on that. Hopefully we'll have that on that park place as well. But definitely, catch me on the Theme Park Universe, Theme Park Wizard, that park place, and of course T3PO, which you're watching right now. Bob, why don't you go ahead and tell the fine folks where they can catch you on a stream?
All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you again for having me on the show every week. I appreciate it. You can find me at BarryPlace28 at YouTube and Twitter. X, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, Facebook. And I will be streaming on Thursday night at the park, Disneyland. So come join us. Should be a lot of fun. looking forward to hanging out there. And next week, I got quite a few streams planned. So when I come back next Tuesday, I'll tell you about what we're doing next week, because it's going to be some scary fun.
Absolutely. And then Lou, what do we got going on for you?
Well, I'm doing all that genre guy stuff, which shows up here and shows up there and shows up everywhere eventually. Trying to think, I guess you just put up the Muppet one, right?
Yes, the
and
Great Muppet
Alvarez
Caper
Kelly just went up on Pro, if you're a member. And after that, we've got 13th Floor, which is a movie that I'd never heard of that Lauren brought to our attention that is so good. It out-matrixes Matrix. And then we're going to be having a special guest host because Hangry Tables is on sabbatical. And the special guest host is going to be Marvin the Movie Monster. And and Lauren and I are going to go to the original Superman. And you will believe that a monster can fly. And then there's our Crazy Sunday Fest, which we call the back lot with Lou and you and me and all that. But God, we went everywhere this last Sunday, didn't we? From the Queen Mary to Infinity and beyond.
Vegas.
But it was fun and people enjoyed it. And there you go. D Bud just put in the chat the email for questions for that.
There we go.
And and then I come on here and talk a little bit and drive everybody crazy and sing sad stories of the death of theme parks, unfortunately, or at least of islands with guys named Sawyer.
Well, hey, hopefully you guys enjoyed this actual stream right here. Had a lot of fun putting it together. There's a lot that we didn't actually get to. I think we might save that for the next show because there's some interesting stuff, little tidbits here and there, but I'm sure there will be more news to break as well. So definitely subscribe to this channel in order to be updated on when we go live. We go live typically every Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern.
And 2 o'clock on Sundays for Vash and I.
That's right. So definitely stay tuned for that. Let me see if I can get the stuff going right here. There you go. Thank you so much for
hit that like button.
Yep, hit the like button right there. If you did like this video, hit the subscribe button so that you never miss out on when we do drop a new video.
And also, when the chat goes away, stick around and go put something in the comments because both of those things help the magical algorithm stuff, I'm told.
Absolutely. Oh yes, absolutely. Hit the comments if you have anything to say separate from the chat. Always very much appreciate your comments. Try to look at them as often as possible. Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. H is coming up right now, so don't touch that dial. You'll be redirected right there. Have a wonderful day, guys. Thank you.